Kia ora and welcome to the session about property data. So today we're going to be having a look at how you can access data from the Māori Land Court, how you can access the survey and title property boundaries and owner data from LINZ. We'll have a look at some base data NZ, how some of those layers are presented in a different way using different technology. We'll have a look at Māori Land Online. I know someone was trying to find their block on the Slack group this morning. We'll have a look at Tupu from TPK, which is a pretty neat site as well. Now, just in case we don't get to any of these ones, I'm just putting them on here because I'm also wary of the time. And just a reminder as well, here's a link to our mega resource folder that has the videos, this document, other kete of links and resources. And there's a story map here, data for iwi Māori GIS projects. And then some of my own creative output. I got all enthused a little while ago and created an individual map for every single Māori land block. So you can go in there and get a picture of your whenua as well. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the LINZ stuff, LINZ data, and I'm going to explain as I understand, or from a GIS perspective, how I perceive the property and data system to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this link here and we're going to go to the LINZ data service. Now I'm just going to hide these meeting controls because they're getting right in the way. Okay, there we go. Okay, so LINZ data service, this is a website that provides access to download all of the LINZ managed and maintained data. So you can see here there are aerial photos, there's information about Crown property, elevation or the height of the topography of the land. Land Online, which is the system that is used to maintain the property register in Aotearoa. The Gazetteer, which is the official government place names register. So if it is made official in the Gazetteer, then every public service agency must use that name. So if there's a Macron in it, thou shalt use that Macron public service agencies. There's also some information here on hydrographic and maritime. So bathymetry, harbours, all the way up to the exclusive economic zone as well as that boundary. Roads and addresses, suburbs, localities, and a whole bunch of topographic data. Now we also have another series of webinars running that are not specific to Māori interests, but generally are of interest to Māori, particularly with accessing topographic data because there's a lot of information there about awa, maunga, place names, all kinds of data. So I'll share a link to that as well, but it's linz.eventbrite.co.nz, but I'll put that in there and you can have a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here to my own whare and the mighty taita, number 7. And I'm going to add what are called the primary parcels. So I kind of describe this as every survey line that was ever drawn by any surveyor for all time. So in the beginning, in the 1880s, they set up the Native Land Court, and that was intended to, I guess, Europeanize the property cadastre. Of course, it was a primary tool of colonisation, and all that went with it. And half my work on Waitangi Tribunal projects was related to that organisation. Those lines are still in the cadastre pretty much, but you start with that first block and then it's sliced and diced all the way down, and so you're still seeing that with Māori land as well, of course. But here is where I live. Here's our whare, and I can see that the surveyed area is 1140 metres. And I can see here it has a title number or title name. The land district is Wellington. And this is the description of it. Lot 7 DP 16208. Okay, so that is the primary parcel, that's kind of like the building block, or if you think of the boundary made up, or the Lego pieces, the Lego individual pieces. A primary parcel can have what are called a statutory purpose. So these are quite useful. Let's have a look in the data table here. There is a parcel intent, so these can be fee simple, which is open to anyone to own, but statutory actions is really useful because this is where a lot of treaty settlement references are put into this field. Let's go back to the about, click on that. So you can go here, you don't have to sign in, you can click on any parcel, you can just navigate around and find information on it. So the primary parcels are the primary building block. You can own a parcel, but what you're actually owning is a title on top of it. So let's come back to here. Come back a bit, 1 second. Come back. So what you might be more interested in is title. So a title can be made up of one parcel or more than one parcel. And the title are what, when you buy a farm, buy a house, you're purchasing the title. So I can see on my whare that there's just still just one parcel, but there are two owners. And this is where it gets interesting. So you have parcel, a title can be one or more parcels. Then what else we got here? The third part and the logical part next is you have parcels, you have titles, and then you have owners of those, or title owners. So let's have a look. How do we find that? Let's go in here. Owner. Now this is hopefully going to show me no records. That's right. So what I need to do is I need to sign in. So if you've not come across the site before, you'll want to just register for it. It's provided through Coordinates, which is an Auckland-based company. So I'm just going to log in here. You might ask me for a number. Now you won't necessarily have to do this, but I do. 790 939. Okay, so it's free to sign up for this. Now, once I've signed in, you can see I can access property titles, including owners. So if I click on this one, actually, let me just clear it first. Click on this one. And you can see down the bottom right here, bottom left, bottom right, it's still streaming. Now, when I click on this, it will tell me the number of owners. Well, it told me two. There were two owners on the title. So remember, there's parcel, title, owners. This is how I think of it. And we can see here, it's fee simple. That means it's open for anyone to buy. One of one parcels, and this is the name of it, lot 7, blah, blah, blah. And it's 1140 meters squared. And there's Dwayne and Megan owners. So when you click on parcel that is Māori land, you're going to see all of those owners on there listed. Okay, let's have a look on the next link here. So something else that's going to be of interest is the survey title, or the survey data. And let's turn that off, come down here. Let's look for, actually I'm just going to search in here, survey. See what we get under survey. Survey boundary marks. So what this tells me is these are those little survey markers that you'll find quite often near a fence post or near a gate that are used to help identify the property boundaries. And same for Māori land, you'll find these nearby to Māori land as well. So that's survey boundary marks. Something else that's interesting, or will be interesting, is survey plans. And survey plans are those original drawings that describe the boundaries of that property. So the distances, the angles, that kind of thing. And some of the maps from the Native Land Court hearings, the sort of in the 1800s, you'll get things like ML 700, which is a block in Ruatoria. It's a beautiful old map. I'll see if I can find it for you. Let me come back to that one actually. It describes, for example, ML 700 for me is a very good example where it has historical whare marked on there. It has trees, it has historical pā, it has a huge number of places that I understand many were lost to living memory. But I know when we looked at it in the Ruatoria, there was huge excitement about the information that was contained on the survey plan. So that survey plans layer provides you with, now if we click on one of these, it gives you the name usually. Let's see, why is that not showing me? Let's pick another one. Survey reference DP deposited plan 2665. So in a future session, we'll have a look at Land Online and how you can access those survey plans, download them. Yeah, we'll come to that more in a future session about those survey plans. Let's see what else is here. Oh, now there's one trick. If you want to access the property owner data, you'll need to request access to the controlled owner data controlled access group. So basically this is free, but what you need to do is agree that, hey, you won't share this data around in public, you will maintain it, you'll keep it up to date. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is related to privacy and also specifically in relation to domestic violence. That's my understanding of it. And yeah, it's just keeping it up to date. So there is, if we go in here and we go controlled access group and we go enter, you'll see here that I can't access the owner data unless I'm signed in, and secondly, that I've agreed to this license for personal data. So you can have a look at this. This is basically what you'll agree to, and it's all fairly standard stuff, but it's very important to make sure that you do take a moment or two to read that. And also you can request access. So then there's a process that's gone through by a couple of the LINZ team in the data service to just do some checks, and then within a short time you'll have access to that data. Okay, so that link is on that, that property data one. I'll just highlight that for you as well. Let's just make that orange. There we go. Okay, so that's just a very quick look at some of the property data from LINZ that is freely available on that open data service. Let's have a look at Māori Land Court. So this for me is a key page, Māori Land Data Service. So Māori Land Spatial Data, this is where you can download all kinds of updates here, but at the bottom of this page, you can access the spatial data. Right, still going, keep going, Dwayne, keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. This is where the data is. So there is the basic Māori Land Spatial Data Set. So this is what you can download, and you can access these shapefiles in any GIS software. For example, QGIS, which is a free open source GIS desktop app. You can open a shapefile in Google Earth Pro for desktop. And you can also open it in ArcGIS Online or in ArcGIS Pro, the desktop version as well. But I'm going to show you a couple of easy ways to access that data shortly. There's also, of course, Māori Land Online. Let's see if we can find that. So that's the link there, Māori Land Online. So if you wanted to find out, and I'm sure most of you have come across this site already, you want to look up a block search or a map search or owner interest search. I'm just going to pick a random one here. Somewhere I don't usually go. Where are we going? Okay, right in the middle. Here we go. Zoom in here. So I'm just zooming in with the scroll on my mouse. And I'm going to click on, it's like a lottery. Which one am I going to pick? Okay, I'm going to pick this one here. This one, Wharetoto. Okay, so I can see here, Wharetoto 3 in District Aotea Land District. This is the area. I assume that's in hectares. It's a very large block. It's from a partition order from the title. I'm not particularly sure what that reference there means, but you can see there's the date, 11th of March, 1897. The ML plan, so the Māori land plan. Now this is that original survey plan. So this would be worth tracking down if you have interest in your block, because some of those earlier plans, they will name important places. They will name all kinds of interesting features on there that might be of use to you in doing sites of significance mapping. And you can see there are 589 owners, and you can view it in Google Maps, or you can view title details. If we click on this one, you get that similar information there. And here we can see the administrators, the management type, and other information about it here. So this is public, this is not private information, this is on public record. So you can go and access that anytime. And now this is also something interesting, is you can get a soil report for this block. So now that we've clicked on that block, it will go to Whenua Viz, which is part of, funded by TPK. And okay, where did our block go? For some reason, it looks like, let me just check, what's it done? Okay, it looks like it's just the map extent has moved away, but it's still got the block that we're interested in, that one that I selected. Let's see, where was it? In here. That's the problem with selecting a random block. Now I can't see the names to find it again. I think it was, should have paid more attention while I've been talking. Okay, it's here somewhere. All right, we'll pick another one. More details. Kaimanua. 3B, 2B. Look, there's some bug with their spatial extent, but that's all right. We can work around that, because here's where the stuff that we really want to see is here. We can see here that this block is 94% class 8, which is extremely rough land in terms of agricultural. So this is in terms of land use capability. It's very, very, you wouldn't be able to farm on that on level 8. But you can see here, class 6, you've got from class 8, which is very, very rough, side of a mountain, to class 1, which is dairy farm, or class 2, which is some dairy, some, mostly dairy. Class 3 is where you're getting into not so much dairy. 4, 5, and 6 is mostly sheep, cattle, and as they've seen here, production forestry. So it's very rare that above class 6 or 7 that you would get any agriculture occurring. It also tells you something interesting here, that this limiting factor is E for erosion, or C for climate, being coldness or frost. Now, the next session that we're going to do is we're going to look at land use capability in much more detail. But I think you can see already that there's a huge value in understanding the capability of a block. And some of those blocks are unfortunately extremely small, but some of the larger blocks, it's quite useful information about in terms of things like making better use of the land, or whether it's suitable for papakainga housing or not. And one of the sessions that we're going to do later in this series is look at how do we use GIS data to identify suitability for papakainga. And that's, for example, access to services, suitability of the land, the slope on a particular block, where might be the best areas to have a papakainga project. Looking at things like water, access to utilities, roads, and public health services, for example. Okay, so that's where to find Māori Land Court and Māori Land Data Service. Oh, there's also Māori Land online link there. Now, related to that is Tupu from TPK, which is quite a cool website, worth having a look. Tupu.nz, Tupu.nz. And if you're wanting to have a look, the purpose of this is to give you more information about a land block. learn more about Tupu. Let's click on here. Now, I haven't been on here for a while, so we're going to have to navigate together of how we find the maps. Here we go, tools. Search the land use fact sheets. Okay.
I think it's find your whenua, doing just beside tools.
Yeah, still, I was looking for it there. I thought it was the help. Okay. So let's just go and search, see what happens. Okay. So as we start typing, you can see potential matches start coming up. So let's pick a random one here. Nukumaru. Okay, so it gives you a map of the block. You can download it as a PDF. Tells you governance structure. We can click on more details. Gives us the area, certificate of title. And I'm looking for, here's what I'm looking for. Valuation and rating information. So I know on a couple of the Māori land Facebook groups, there was just questions about rates. And so you can get some information here. This is probably the simplest and easiest place to find valuation, capital improvements, and land value type information that I'm aware of. You could probably go to a local council website and find it, but this is all the Māori land court blocks there. This little chunk of information here is otherwise very difficult to find. So kudos to TPK for adding that into Tupu. And I know it wouldn't have been cheap. So these, you can search, these are links back to Māori Land Court, but the key thing I wanted to do here was just to download a PDF report. So what it's doing is it's creating this report for you right now. They're not pre-generated. It's getting the latest information from different data sources and pulling it together as a PDF that you can download. And it's quite a nice report, gives you all the information that they could find from all kinds of sources about that particular block. Okay, we'll leave that to do its thing. Worth having a look at. Let's have a look at, there's this one here I wanted to have a look at. So late last year, we had a look at the basics of how to create a map yourself using those kind of public data sources. So this one, this base data NZ, this is what I'm going to use as our starting point for creating an online map. Now this is all public data, so you wouldn't want to mix and merge your own private data just yet until we go through those steps, but you'll get what I mean in a few sessions. So let's go and have a look for property titles. I'm going to click on these three dots and I'm going to go Open in Map Viewer. Okay, here's my report from TPK, from Tupu. Kia ora. While that other one's loading up, I'm going to have a look at our report. Okay, so here's our report from Tupu. And remember, this is just a random block that I picked. There's no rhyme or reason to my choosing, but you can see there's all kinds of information. Let me just get rid of that thing. Let's just go away here. About this report, block details, accessibility, because there's a lot of landlocked lands, climate, water, land cover, land use, slope, soil drainage. So the thing that I want to highlight here is land use is what we were talking about earlier, the classification. Often that's referred to as the soil map, but beware that actual soil is very scientific, the terms that are used, and it does take a fair bit of time to get your head around the different soil chemistry, for example. I would need to put a couple of hours aside to really understand what that kind of information was telling me, so that I can go and look up what the characteristics of that soil description are. That's not in terms of land use, that's different. They also have some information there about tourism and things and where the data comes from. So here we get a nice word picture, we get that rating information, which is very hard to find otherwise, often. Access, high likelihood of direct road access. So these are things like they're using GIS. If we come back up to this picture, they're looking at the distance of the block to the nearest road. So if that block was more than, let's say, 1,000 meters, though, that would probably say unlikely or inaccessible or landlocked or something like this. Information here about distance to the port. Some information here about climate, weather stations, average temperature, growing conditions over a period of time, frost days. So this is when we pressed that button and said, get us the latest. This is the kind of stuff that it's gone away to get. Rainfall, wind, clearly it's not in Wellington. 20 kilometres an hour, that's calm. We don't even notice it. 120 kilometres an hour, that's a breeze. 300, yeah, that's a storm. Okay, here we go, land cover. So all kinds of useful information in here. Potential land use, slope. So in this case, it's pretty flat, low erosion, aspect, so the direction that it's facing, which is particularly useful to know for in relation to soil and agriculture. If it's facing north to the sun, and drainage, of course. And actually that stuff is not too bad. It's pretty good, pretty straightforward to understand there. I was thinking about the scary stuff that we did in second year soil classes, which was hideous, but this stuff is pretty good. And so on. So there's lots of information there. So worth having a look at, Tupu. Okay, now what I want to do is just very, very quickly give you an example of how you could create your own map. So let's pick any random place. I'm just going to wait. The other thing is this is streaming live. It's not downloading. Let's pick this block here. Here we go. So what I could do if I wanted to, and there's a, in our Google Drive resources folder, there's a whole session describing how we could take this one parcel. Now let's see if I can do it. I'm going to give it one go. If it doesn't work, I'm going to bail. Title number, I could do a query based on title number is that, apply filter and zoom to. Oh, look at that, first time it worked. So there is a session, there's a whole recorded tutorial about how to do this to create a map of your own whenua in that Google Drive folder. And I think it's the second one, the second and the third one. But it describes how you can create your own map for free using online tools, using streaming data, which means it's always up to date. So as the number of owners change or things like that, the names on the owners change, that will all be updated. So the number of owners for sure. Okay, let's see. We have gone through the basic data sources, base data NZ, Māori land, Tupu, worth having a look at. That's the mega folder. So this is where that session is. Let's just point that one out to you. Okay, 2D web map. And so number 2 and number 3, if you weren't with us last year, that's worth having a look at in terms of creating a more advanced version of that map that very, very quickly created there. And of course the resource Kete. This is a whole bunch of links. So some software links, data sources from the different key data providers, essential data sets, and those ones from LINZ Access Group for owner details, which is always up to date. I was really surprised how often that gets updated when we put our first home 3 years ago. we were in there within a couple of days. So that was pretty cool to see. But there's also links to other data sets there as well. Okay, and there's some story maps examples there as well. This is a story map, but it's actually a series of links to different data sets that might be of interest for Māori GIS projects. And just for those of you who are joining us today, in terms of what is this GIS mapping stuff, come back to pizza. What we'll be doing is we'll be having a look at how you can create these maps for yourself using software on your computer or online. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. We use different data, and as long as all that data uses the same kind of reference system or pizza box, then they'll all fit together and overlay nicely. But you can see here there's all kinds of data available here, some from MFE as well. Manaki Whenua, we'll have a look, and I'm hoping that maybe we could invite Gareth to join us.